Hey guys, welcome to the stream. Good to have all of you here. Let me get my chat up. Sorry, I was just trying to solve a OBS issue I was having. Imagineer, good to see you here. Akion, Eagle, Wolf, good to see you guys. Tidbits, Geert, Phoebe, welcome, welcome. Kitty Dad, good to see you here. I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep up with the chat completely with welcoming everybody. Kylina, good to see you. Robert Ross, you guys are going to be moving pretty quick, I think, so because we're going to have a lot to talk about. But yeah, just wanted to kind of have a stream today to give people a open forum, right? Just kind of come together, talk about this. Mr. AR, good to see you here. I know there's a lot of reactions going around, a lot of people not happy with what they're seeing with Hunter's Gathering and all that, so, and just mixed feelings all around and a lot to talk about. So wanted to kind of have a stream where we mostly just focus on chatting about it. Probably not as long of a stream as normal. I will pull up Zero Dawn at some point probably, and we'll just kind of like run around and do stuff with no particular goal in mind. Let me actually just cut this music. No particular goal in mind if I bring up Zero Dawn and that kind of thing, but just wanted to mostly have a chance to chat about Hunter's Gathering and what everybody's feeling about it. But before we get started, I did just have a couple things to do / say. I have like a new ritual I want to start with Horizon streams. And I also just I have a few like notes here of discussion points that maybe we'll talk about if people don't just kind of naturally bring them up. But the first thing I wanted to say kind of at the start of the stream here, because there's a good chance that at least a few developers at Guerrilla will at some point watch part of this stream, probably not the whole thing because that'll be a lot, but obviously there's a lot of negativity and toxic commentary going around right now. And there's also people who are excited by what they're seeing. That seems to be a smaller group of Horizon fans, but I think overwhelmingly, right, the feedback and reaction to the Hunter's Gathering reveal has been pretty complicated, pretty negative, pretty critical. And there's a lot of just like vile, toxic commentary going around. And I feel for everybody at Guerrilla. That's kind of what I wanted to say at the top here is just, I'm sure there's people at Guerrilla who are like excited about a lot of aspects of this game, and it's always exciting to do a reveal. At the same time, I know that it's like basically impossible to hide yourself and not hide yourself, but remove yourself from seeing all the commentary that's out there. And there's a lot of negative commentary. And the human brain is just not really evolved to handle that much negative discourse. Some of you are probably experiencing that too. Just seeing like, for example, Asmongold and other people doing reactions to this and saying what they're going to say about it. And so I just want to say at the top here that I hope that we can make this a constructive conversation, and like all the conversations that we have about it be constructive. And I think we should all keep in mind that the people at Guerrilla, whether they wanted to make it this way, whether they were pushed to make it this way, whatever they stand on it, they've put years of effort and energy and work and time into making what you saw in the Hunter's Gathering trailer and making what you've seen in the gameplay and all that. And that's not to say that I'm just saying like we should just glaze it and be like, this is great. Let's all be happy about the game. We can be critical of it, and we should be critical of it, and we should be honest about that. I'm just saying that I feel for like the level of toxicity that these people have to contend with right now. And I want them to know that. And I want everyone to kind of be, just thinking about that. That being said, of course, this is like an open discussion. There's probably going to be some pretty critical things we say here too. So, but just wanted to say that at the top. And then the ritual that I want to start, if you guys have not seen my video about this, because I'll say it again here, I did actually playtest this game. So I was part of a small group of playtesters that playtested it a few months back. I can't really speak about the details of what, the conversations that I had with Guerrilla and the developers, but I have seen the game. I have played the game. And when we were there, they gave us some kind of like little goodies to take home. One of those, and this has been hiding on the shelf for months, and obviously I couldn't tell you guys, but one of them is this cool little candle here. And I thought it would be cool that every time we do a Horizon stream now, I'm going to light this candle and kind of just keep it in the background. And we'll light it at the beginning, blow it out at the end, and we'll just make a little bit of a ritual of it as like a Horizon thing that we do just for Horizon streams. So I have only these like comically massive matches. So we're going to light this thing up. I'll get some regular matches for the future, but we can do a little bit of ASMR here. Light it like right in my face. These are really old, so hopefully they actually light. There we go. I'm a little bit of a pyromaniac, so fire is always fun. So I thought a candle would be kind of a cool ritual for us to start. Maybe you guys are getting a little bit of that crackle. There we go. Focus camera. The Gorilla candle is lit. Just kind of put that over there to the side, make sure I don't burn my whole room down here. Okay. Is it scented? Yeah, it is kind of scented. I'm not really sure what the scent is. The berries that Aloy eats, maybe. Love the crackle. Overcompensating with the match size. Yeah, they are ridiculously big match. They're good for like lighting an actual fire though, you know, because they're really long. Okay. So, feel free to kind of like send all your thoughts right now and I'll try to react, but I also have some points to bring up. We'll bring up Zero Dawn here in a little bit, but first I just wanted to, we'll kind of just chat here for a little while in case people have ideas to bring up. Phoebe, you wanted to make a comment about the candle being made for me by my mother. Oh, like a Nora sort of tradition? Yeah. I think like one thing to bring up here is as like a big picture thought. I still see the potential of a Horizon co-op game. This is not like Hunter's Gathering is not what I hoped it would be. And there's kind of like it's a weird dynamic with having Steel Frontiers out there at the same time. I still see the potential of a Horizon co-op game. I think the big question right now is how much can this game actually change based on playtest feedback and between now and whenever they launch it? That's a big unknown question. And I see Mr. AR is bringing up the art style, and that is a big point. I don't hate the art style. In fact, let me bring up the trailer so we can kind of look at some stuff here. So I don't absolutely like hate the art style of the game, but I'll just kind of play it muted. I think, and I said this in my video, but the biggest issue is it looks too much like Fortnite, Marvel Rivals, these free-to-play battle royale type games, right? They're not all battle royales, but I think unfortunately that's the way that it just lands when you see it, when you see the art style. And I don't know if this is going to be free to play. I don't know if it's, I have a feeling it's not. I have a feeling they're going to do like the kind of Helldivers, Arc Raiders, $40 Marathon's going to be $40. I think that's what they're going to go for. And the issue there is if you go for an art style like this and the impression is it's a free-to-play battle royale for like Fortnite, Marvel Rivals type players, that's a lot of people that aren't going to, it's going to be hard enough to get them to try a new game even if it's free to play. If it's not free to play, I don't know how you're going to get them in the door at $40 or any amount, right? So I don't dislike the art style objectively. It's not what I would pick for the game, but I think it's problematic. Could the art style change before launch? I think it could. To what extent is a big kind of unknown question. And yeah, it's just a big unknown. If how much they can change that, how much they're willing to change it. I think having it look distinctive from the main games makes sense in a lot of ways, but I think this particular art style comes off. I think it appeals to the wrong people. And that sort of opens up a bigger question, is who is the actual target audience for this? Because there's so many choices made here, not just with art style, but also with gameplay. Like, that's something I haven't seen people talk as much about, because we don't actually see too much gameplay, and it's hard to judge the gameplay without actually getting your hands on it, which hopefully people will in the upcoming playtest. But just a lot of the choices, art style, characters not mostly being like existing characters, gameplay being very different and much more melee focused. It feels like there's a lot of intentional choices made here to not be like the main games. And that, I think, completely alienates the existing Horizon fans. Well, not completely. I know there's some people who are excited for it. And if you're excited for it, that's awesome. And you shouldn't let other people's negativity, influence your excitement for the game. Certainly continue to be excited for it. But I think for the most part, it alienates most Horizon players, like all of these different decisions. But I also don't know who it really does strongly appeal to. So I'll stop. I got to catch up on chat here a little bit and stop yapping. Arg, yes, it does use Decima. We can see that actually at the end of this trailer. So right down here, well, it's behind my face cam. Let me turn that off. So right down here in the bottom right, you've got the PlayStation logo, the Gorilla logo, and then you've got the Decima logo. So it does use Decima. That's for sure. I'll just rewind here to the combat section. Surprising that it uses Decima. Yeah. Asteroid, when Horizon Forbidden West came out, we asked for more melee. Sometimes it's hard to please the community, could be demanding. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, people definitely wanted better melee than what was in Zero Dawn. I'm not against having melee. I think having some melee in the game. I've got the wrong. Hang on. There we go. Now my top of my head's not cut off. I'm not against having better melee and melee options. I just see only one character right now that has a bow. Right, Rem, the guy in the back there. He's the only guy that's got the bow. Or a ranged weapon of any type, basically. And I think, personally, I'm curious how you guys feel about this, but in my opinion, Horizon combat is ranged combat. Melee is just not the focus. It's just not the focus. And having a collection of unique ranged weapons is part of what makes Horizon unique from a gameplay standpoint at the core. So yeah, that's a big question mark and potential fundamental issue in my opinion. Palin, I think for you, you're saying you think for you, the main concerns is you're happy if Guerrilla want to branch out and try new things, but all of us are so desperate to continue Aloy's story. Yes, that's definitely true. If we could get any confirmation that Horizon 3 is very much in development and this is a new development team, then I wouldn't be upset with the announcement, but that is the uncertainty is scary. Yeah, that's a great point. So they obviously have not revealed Horizon 3. I think the way that they started this trailer out, and it's probably worth us just listening to that really quick. Let me get my audio in here. what Jan Bart said at the beginning.
We love exploring the next. What new stories can we tell and what new experiences can we create?
Where's it at?
Before we dive in, I want to be very clear about one thing. We absolutely love making single-player games, and we're going to keep making them. They're a huge part of who we are as a studio. But next to that, we also had this long-standing dream.
So the fact that they, just kind of right at the top there before they even showed us the game said we still love making single-player games and we're still going to be making them, I think is good. I think that was smart that they did that for sure. They also, in 2022, when they posted I think it was on X, they posted something about the fact that they were working on a multiplayer Horizon game. They stated in there that they will continue to make single player adventures for Aloy. And we can also look at the fact that Matthias, who's the director of Zero Dawn and Forbidden West, you can look at the credits for Zero Dawn and Forbidden West. They didn't present Matthias as involved with this project, in this trailer, right? They have Arjen as the game director. Let me see if we can find that part right here. So Arjen's the game director for Hunter's Gathering. I think, hopefully I'm getting this right. Arjen was the art director for the Frozen Wilds, I believe. He's had a number of different roles in Zero Dawn and Forbidden West, and before that in Killzone. He's been at the studio a long time. But he's the director for Hunter's Gathering. Matthias, who's been the director for Zero Dawn and Forbidden West, is not presented as involved in this. And Guerrilla has been hiring like crazy for a few years now. So I think we can be reasonably confident that there actually are maybe not two completely separate teams, but two, enough people there for them to mostly have two teams focused on different things. That's my impression anyway, from the amount of hiring that they've done and the way they presented the people in this trailer, particularly Arjen as the director. I think it's most likely that Matthias is leading another team. How big it is hard to say, but there's another team devoted to Horizon 3, it seems like. I missed a super chat. MJLP, thank you for the 5. Appreciate that. Does it look like they have made any changes so far based on the playtest feedback my group gave? So I can't really talk about what I spoke to the devs with. I'm under an NDA still. I can say that I was there and I can say that I played it and that we gave them feedback, but I can't really comment on what's changed since I was there. We kind of have to just talk about what we can see here, unfortunately. I don't want to get in trouble with that. Justin, have to wonder what casual players think of this. The players not obsessed with Horizon and not tuned into the online discourse / gaming culture. Yeah, that's a very good point. And I sort of have seen some comments that I think just from people in general that to me sort of say there are some Horizon fans and maybe some casual, just players that have maybe played Horizon, but it's not it's not their favorite game or one of their top favorite games. They've just they enjoyed it at one point and moved on. There seems to be a subset of people that do think this looks pretty cool. I'm very curious once some of those people get into the play test, what they think after they've actually played it and got their hands on with the gameplay. Because again, it's just looking so melee hack and slash focused that I don't know how well that's going to land with most people. I don't know how addicting it's going to be. That's kind of what you need with a live service game, right? You need a lot of people to want to just keep replaying it. Katie Dad, you signed up for the beta? Nice. Yeah, there is. I don't have it linked to this stream, but I can link it afterwards in the description, and then it's also on my video that's on the channel in the pinned comment. There is a play test to sign up for. Francisco, ask a complex question. If the feedback from the playtest isn't good, do I see a possibility of them canceling the game? That's a good question. It's really hard to say that at this point. I think the fact that they've revealed it and that they have a playtest lined up for later, I think they said it's later this month. And they also talk at some point in here, Aryan is on camera and talks about play tests in the plural. So it sounds like they have sort of a roadmap here of multiple play tests. So I don't think it's getting canceled anytime soon. I think they have at least 6 months here where they're going to get multiple play tests in probably and get feedback. And at that point, that's probably when they're going to have to decide, like, how much do we want to change? How much can we change? What are people feeling about it? Do the statistics from the play test show that people want to keep playing? Does it show that people disengage? Like, they have to evaluate that. So I think kind of where they're at right now is they just need to get to this play test, the first one, and get a read on like how people actually react to actually playing the game. I think there's always a possibility they cancel it, of course, right, at some point. And I think the big question is, they've been working on this for a really long time. There's a point at which Sony goes, do we want to spend more money on this if it doesn't look like it's working? But I think right now they're just looking to get to the play test to see what people's reactions are. You doubt it gets canceled at this point. If it doesn't survive, it'll be a post-launch thing. Yeah, that would be my guess as well. Like, if it doesn't, I'd be surprised if they canceled it before launch, like you're saying. I'd be surprised at this point if they canceled it before launch, because they've now revealed it. They have a playtest roadmap. Also, I talked about this a little bit in my video, but let me start this trailer over again. They could have been in a spot where they definitely could have like said, we need to cancel Marathon. And I know most people here probably are not really tracking what's going on with Marathon from Bungie. But Marathon was in a really, really bad state after its initial reveal. And then there was like an art scandal and some other crazy stuff that went on. And it looks like the jury's still out because the game comes out in like a month and we don't actually know yet. But people are really changing their opinion on that. They took a lot of player feedback over a couple years and made a lot of changes. And now people are seemingly a lot more excited about Marathon. So I'm kind of interested in how Marathon lands, because I think that's going to give Sony kind of input on whether or not, like, how much more time and budget they give to Hunter's Gathering to potentially make changes. Robert Ross, the world of Horizon is harsh and dangerous to exist in, but the characters look more like they're in a dance-off rather than a fight for their lives. Yeah, so the characters is the other thing, right? I think I'm of the opinion that I would much rather play as existing characters. So, and I said this in my video as well, but like this character here, I just feel like this could be Petra, for example, like, or Varga from the Frozen Wilds. Like, why does it have to be a brand new character? I think having some new characters is cool. Like, this character here feels a little bit more grounded because it seems like she has a stalker companion, right? This stalker shows up behind her. This character's name is Sun, and I think she's like cool, but it also looks like she like flies around with her spear. And then I'm like, why do they have these abilities that even Aloy doesn't have? And why unground it? Why not have it be more grounded in the Horizon universe, right? Like, if you want a character flying around, Aloy can do that in the Burning Shores with a polecaster, right? She does have a way to sort of fly around, but these characters fly around like almost in a magical way. At least some of them, not all of them, but some of them, like Sun. So yeah, if it came down to like, we could only have one thing changed, like just one thing changed, I would say out of this lineup, like here, we're going to get the full lineup in just a second, actually. Out of this lineup, take about half of them, not completely out, like maybe half of them can come later or something, but at launch, I would like to see like half of these characters, at least, if not all of them, be personally, I would like to see these be existing characters from the Horizon universe. Like Replace somebody here with Talana. The hammer guy could just be Erend. I don't know why we have to have that additional level of separation. The hammer guy could just be Erend, right? We could have Talana in here. We could have Katalo in here. People love Katalo, right? Like, give us a few that really kind of link it to the main games. And I think that would get Horizon fans a bit more excited to at least try it out. And then you can mix in a few new ones. Like, that's cool. And you can mix in the rest of the new ones as time goes on. And maybe also introduce additional existing characters like Ikri from the Frozen Wilds. Or maybe Sona, you know, like Varl's mom would be a really cool character to play as. Arktix, yeah. There's a bunch, like Zoe, maybe even Beta. Like, I don't know, that would be a little bit too close to maybe playing as Aloy, because we can't all play as Aloy, unfortunately. But yeah. And I know I'm running a poll on my YouTube channel right now, but some people actually like the idea. Bryn would be an interesting. Nil would be an interesting one for sure. Yeah, actually, Nil's a great idea. And Bryn being able to game as like some kind of shaman class. Or just some kind of like Banuk shaman, right? Maybe one that we came across very briefly. Like the guy that's in the lodge, the Yellowstone Lodge, right? I forget what his name is, but like what if you played as him and he was just like a machine master play style? I just think there's things they could do there to connect it more pretty easily to the main Horizon games and still have those characters appeal to like a broader audience if that's what they're going for, right? Like, yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it. There should be at least some existing Horizon characters in the main lineup. Katalo with his metal arm, yeah, exactly. Unleash, you thought about it and you'd prefer to learn more about the existing character story in the mainline games instead of a multiplayer game. So you'd be of the opinion you don't want existing characters in the game then. Yeah, and that's, I think, the sentiment I've heard from some people, where I think kind of the core thing they're getting at is like I think all of us are sort of in a spot where we're like, do we want this to be closer to the main Horizon games that we know and love, or do we want to separate it even further so that it's easier for us to be like, this is not Horizon. Horizon is this, what I know and love. This thing is separate. Like, kind of like treat it more like, okay, the Lego games exist. You know, the Lego game exists, but it's not really canon. And they've said that these characters and their backstories are going to be canon, which is another point where I think people are like, I don't know if I want it to touch the main series at all, if it's going to be like that. And I think that's a really interesting sort of dynamic right now for all of us is do you want it to be closer to the main games, or do you want it to just be even more separated? I feel like it's really separated already. I think it's a little bit strange that we have like, where's that point in the trailer where like Aloy hands it off to Erend right here, right? It's coming up, I think. Yeah. So like, this I think is another intentional choice that says a lot to me. Like, I would much rather as a player receive the directive from Aloy. Like, I want Aloy projected at the top of the spire in Meridian, giving me like battle commands, you know, like maybe just at the very start of the game, like with a cutscene opening, like kind of explaining this is what we need to do. You guys need to hold off the cauldrons while I'm dealing with Nemesis, or hold off the machines while I'm dealing with Nemesis or something. I don't really understand why we have this additional layer of separation where we're just these new characters we know nothing about. We're taking a directive from Erend, who took a directive from Aloy, and Aloy's just like out of the picture. Like, why don't we just take a directive from Aloy directly? Yeah. And I think that says a lot about like, they are intentionally trying in some ways to separate this more from the main games. Vibi, have Katalo go to the clan lands to recruit Tenakth heroes. Yeah, that's a great point. Like, you can have that sort of, that narrative like web of connections, right? Like, if you have existing characters in there, like Katalo, he could go recruit other Tenakth heroes and Tenakth like, or what do they call them? Not sentinels, but marshals. Like we could have other marshals that maybe we haven't met before, or maybe they're just like NPCs that didn't even have any dialogue lines in Forbidden West, but like then they get pulled in, and then you could go back in Forbidden West and find like that's the guy, you know. Or with Talana, like she could be recruiting people from the Hunter's Lodge, maybe Hunter's Lodge members that we don't know yet, but that could be a connection there to bring in new people. So it seems like there's sort of these obvious connection points that you could have that I struggle to believe like that they didn't consider this. And that's where I'm like kind of confused, right? Like I feel like they had to have had these thoughts. They must have had these thoughts. And then they chose to go and be like, no, we're going to separate it even more, which just feels strange to me. Because again, if you zoom out, who's paying attention right now at the reveal? You know, who's actually paying attention to the trailer, having the discussions we're having right now? It's Horizon fans for the most part. I mean, I'm sure some other people have seen it, but I don't think, you know, if this is targeting like Fortnite players, Marvel Rivals players, I'll bet you 99.9+% of them have no idea this exists and probably won't for a very long time, if ever. Because they're not, you know, if we're talking about people who've never played Horizon, right? They're just, I don't know. I don't really know who the target audience is. And that's a big concern because with a live service game, here's the other, like a big kind of top level, big picture point I wanted to make. Even if you're excited for this, that's awesome. Right. It seems like there is a smaller subset of people that are excited to try this out, excited by what they're seeing. The problem is, I think you still have to be concerned because any live service game lives or dies based on how big of an audience it can get as like a core player base. There's like a threshold of critical mass you need, right? You need a certain number of people regularly playing the game. Otherwise it dies. And that's kind of where I agree with what Arg was saying before. Like, I think this will probably get to launch. I'd be surprised, I think, if they canceled it before launch. But then it's going to become a question of like, do they have a big enough regular player base to keep it alive? And right now, I think there probably is, you know, like Dauntless. I've seen a lot of people make comments about Dauntless, that this looks like Dauntless. There were people that loved Dauntless, and then I think it was out, and then it got shut down at some point because it didn't have a big enough player base. So it's like, okay, maybe you get all the Dauntless people back and you get some more, a little bit more, but I don't think that's enough to keep this afloat in the long run. And to me, from like a business strategy standpoint, the best bet you could make is tapping into the existing Horizon fan base you have to try to get even just a small chunk of them to become regular players of this game. Arg, if they make it not require PS Plus, I'll probably play it. Unfortunately, I think we can go double check. I think I saw it on an FAQ. So there actually is a website for the game. It kind of just takes you to a PlayStation page, but horizonhuntersgathering.com, I think is what it is. Yeah. And if you scroll down, actually there's FAQ button right here. And then the last question here in the FAQ is PlayStation Plus required to play Hunter's Gathering online? Let me zoom in on it. A PlayStation Plus membership at the essential level or higher is required to play Hunter's Gathering online. So, yeah, they're planning, at least right now, for it to require a PlayStation Plus membership. And anyone, like, if the target audience here is like, let's pull people from Fortnite, let's pull people from Marvel Rivals, let's pull people from Apex Legends, whatever. These are like not people that pay for PS Plus to play their games. First of all, they play free to play games, and they don't typically pay a subscription to play their online game because a lot of them are on PC. If they're playing on PlayStation, then they probably do pay the subscription. Yeah, Amy, like you're saying, if you do need to pay that to play most online games if it's on PlayStation. But a lot of these people play on PC. And so you're immediately, I think, filtering out all the PC players of the free-to-play games. If you both require a purchase price, like if Hunter's Gathering is not free-to-play and you have to get a PlayStation subscription, I've even seen people go, I want to be in the beta, but I don't have a PlayStation, or the playtest beta. The playtest beta is on PC, but you need a PlayStation account because you have to be in the PlayStation beta program in order to get in, which means there's a bunch of people, like I've seen people comment like, wait, I have to make a PlayStation account to be able to get into the beta. And they don't want to do that just because it's like the whole PC console wars thing, right? Like they don't want to have a PlayStation account because they're like a PC master race purist or whatever. People are weird about it, but that's a hurdle that a lot of people just won't go over. Tidbits, thank you for the gifted membership, man. Appreciate it. I missed a super chat. Robert Ross. The people excited for the game would also be excited with a similar game that was nothing to do with Horizon that would then not alienate Horizon fans. I think I know what you're saying. Yeah. Thank you for the £5 super chat, by the way. Like it's so far from the main Horizon games that it's almost like, why not just make this something else? At that point, I mean, I think the things that are still tying it to being distinctively Horizon are the machines. And it's kind of the machines and the Horizon logo on the front for the most part, isn't it? I mean, there's some characters like Aaron, Petra's in there. Aloy hands off the stuff to Aaron at the very beginning. But yeah, if you didn't, honestly, and that's kind of what I've thought about as well. If you took the Horizon logo off this and you changed the enemies to not be the machines and they were something else that wasn't recognizable as Horizon, would you even know that it's Horizon at that point? I think there'd still be some things like right there. Let me go back a little bit. Like, you know, some of the characters like face paints and things like that. Let me see. Like right here, I think if I saw like this shot, I go, that kind of looks like Horizon, but there's just very subtle things beyond the machines and the logo on the box that really makes this feel like Horizon, unfortunately. Elkier, good to see you here, man. No. So the play test is not PC only. It's PC and PS5. It's PC and PS5, but you do need a PlayStation account, regardless of where you want to do it. And so what I was talking about is I've seen people who are on PC only. The play test is on both, but I've seen people who don't have a PlayStation. They just have a PC. And they're like, I don't want to make a PlayStation account to be able to play in the play test. But the playtest is on PC and PlayStation, not PS4, but PS5. I think I'll restart the trailer again. I think, just want to be free-to-play games don't need PS Plus. Yeah, I think that's true, isn't it? That's a good point, Elkier. It's like if you were to play Fortnite on PlayStation, I don't think you need PS Plus. Maybe some other people chime in on that, but yeah, I think most, maybe all free-to-play games, if you were to play on PlayStation, don't need PS Plus. Get Menno, thank you for the $2 super chat. One character looks like they're from known tribes. Who? Rem, the guy with the face paint that I paused on before. Elk, you play Rocket League and others with Plus? Without Plus. Okay. So Rocket League. I'm pretty sure like Fortnite, you don't need PS Plus. So that's a good point. Yeah. I think for the most part, free-to-play games. I don't play a lot of these games, so I guess I'm not very informed on that. But pretty sure Fortnite, you're confirming Rocket League. I'm pretty sure you're right that there's others too. Foss, there's also a thing of Sony historically not being honest about leaks nor safe from leaks. The main reason for a PlayStation account is for user data, which is a sensitive topic. Yeah, that's a good point. That's definitely one of the things that is brought up when the PC players and others don't want to make a PlayStation account. Is information being leaked. I think that's kind of, I don't know that it's really happened with Steam, but I can't remember a time where there's been some kind of big Steam leak. But it's not unique to PlayStation, but it has happened a number of times. That's a legitimate concern for people to have since what they've heard of in the past. I don't know if it's the main driver of people not signing up for a PlayStation account, but Jax West, thank you for the $2 super chat. Appreciate that. So I think Norma actually said this in a comment on my video, but kind of going back to the art style and just the overall impression that the trailer gives of the game. How did you say it? No, I don't know if Norma's here right now, but I think Norma said it looks like a baby between Monster Hunter and Fortnite. It looks like Monster Hunter and Fortnite had a baby. I think that's a pretty good way to kind of sum up the impression the game gives, both between like art style and with all the melee gameplay. And then when I showed this to my wife, I showed her the reveal trailer for the first time. She wasn't a big fan of it either. She thought parts of it looked cool, but her kind of takeaway was, I wish it was more like a baby between Horizon and Arcane, which I thought was also a good way to describe what I would like it to be closer to. So right now, a baby between Monster Hunter and Fortnite, but a baby between Arcane and Horizon would be, I think at least for me and probably a lot of Horizon fans, closer to what would be cool. Sunil, the YouTube PlayStation channel, the Horizon Hunters Gathering trailer has 18,000 likes, 66,000 dislikes. Yeah, so that's something to comment to address as well. That's the trailer we're watching right now. So it has 18,000 likes. I have seen a lot of people go, oh, it has this many dislikes. We don't actually know how many dislikes it has. Where those numbers are coming from is you can install a Chrome extension that will like bring back the dislike count, but it's not that accurate. Like I've seen it be off by like it's like either double or half. Like it can be way off of where it should be. Now, it gives you like a very general idea. Like I think there are a lot of dislikes on this, but we don't actually know what the actual number is. Like it's probably not actually 66,000. And I have seen that Chrome extension. There's a couple Chrome extensions that do it. And there are some kind of back end ways for people, like if you can check your own YouTube Studio, for example, like which I can on my own channel, there's ways to kind of verify how accurate it is. And in my experience, it's usually estimates way higher than what it actually is. That being said, even if it's like only 33,000 dislikes, that's still a lot more than 18,000, right? So I think we can be pretty confident that there is more dislikes than likes. I just don't know. I highly doubt it's as high as people are saying it is. So, but I'm sure there are a lot of actual dislikes on it. Gaff should have brought me, Joe Raptor, Kirstian way earlier in the development process. Yeah, I don't know. You know, of course we would say that, you know, but they can only bring us in when they can bring us in. And I'm glad they brought us in when they did. That was super cool that we were able to get there. And hopefully I'm able to go back. There was like I mentioned in the video, there was a second play test that Joe Raptor got to go to that I didn't. Probably just because they wanted to like mix the groups around, and hopefully they do more where we can kind of give like focused feedback. But they may also at this point just be like, you know, moving forward, it's just going to be these larger play tests that are they're still closed. It's not an open beta, but anybody can get into them, right? Like you guys can sign up to try to get into them. Yeah, Jor also is like in Amsterdam, right? Like he's in the Netherlands, really close to the studio, so it's really easy to get him there. Whereas me, you got to overnight me from the States. That being said, that, you know, they had a pretty wide group of people in both. They had a pretty, well, they were small groups, but, you know, the picture that Jor shared, for example, some of you guys may recognize some of the people in that playtest group. They're not all from Europe. There were Americans in there as well. Francisco, in my opinion, does this multiplayer game initially need Horizon fans to succeed? How will Guerrilla reach a new audience unfamiliar with Horizon without us? Yeah, I think I completely agree with you there. That is kind of my core stance on this right now, and my like core thesis on the game. The stream froze. I think it's good. It's good on my end anyway. My like whole main idea here, the main point is, I think you have to make this appeal to Horizon fans, because I don't know what other core player group you're going to pull together. And if you look at how games like this succeed, they have to, like, they just have to amass a big enough, really passionate core player base to then sort of attract the broader audience, because people will then hear that passionate core player base talking about how much they like it. They'll be mentioning it in, you know, forums, on Discord servers, in comments, all that kind of stuff. And it'll just naturally sort of organically bring in more people from the broader audience. But you have to start with a core audience. And in my opinion, the easiest core audience to get are Horizon players. They are Horizon players. So it's a very interesting choice to make it so different from the main games to where it doesn't appeal to most Horizon players. I'm not saying it doesn't appeal to anyone. And I'm not saying it doesn't appeal to any Horizon fans. I know it appeals to some Horizon fans. I just don't think it appeals to enough people right now to give it a good shot at surviving at launch, unless they make big changes, which I hope they can make some changes based on feedback from the playtests. At least we get new random side quest content. Yeah, that was cool to see him post something. I was happy to see that. Norma saw some people with video titles like "This is amazing." Yeah, I think there's some people that like it. It's just, again, with a live service game, it's like, let's say there's, I don't know, 20 or 30,000 people out there that think this is cool, or even closer to 100,000 people that think this is cool right now. They're not all going to stick with it, right? That's just how any game launch goes. People are going to be kind of enamored by the trailer and the initial reveal. And then they get in and they're like just not really vibing with the gameplay, and then you lose some people. Even if there's tens of thousands of people right now that think this looks cool, I just don't think it's enough to keep it alive. Like, you need hundreds of thousands of people minimum, I think, for a game of this scale. Like, we don't know how much they've spent on this, and we don't know how long they've had like a big team on it. We know they've had some people on it because they talked about in the blog post, like a small team started out on it. And there's been kind of information floating around about that for a while now. But I would guesstimate that just based on the amount of time that they've spent on it and the fact that they have had a bigger team on it now for a little while, it's probably they've spent over $100 million on this already, or close to that. And by the time it launches, they probably will have spent 150 plus, you know, maybe closer to 200 million, depending on how much longer they take. And that's a lot. That's a lot. You got to sell a lot of copies at $40. You got to sell like millions of copies at $40. And then you've got to retain a lot of those people in the whole live service model where, like, you know, they haven't talked about it, but I'm sure they're going to have some kind of monetization through like cosmetics and skins. That's just how you do it with these games. You have something like that. Like Helldivers has like capes and stuff you can buy, right? And you have like some kind of season pass or something like that. So that's, again, going back to the point about like, there is a limit to how much more time and how much more money they can spend on making changes to this, which is another sort of fundamental concern. Am I going to play it? Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely going to play it. I'm going to hopefully get into the play test that's coming up, right? and then I'll definitely play it at launch. Like, I want to give it a fair shake and try it out. And I want to love it. Like, I don't want to see this succeed. If this fails or gets canceled, that's not good for anyone, right? That's not good for us if you're excited about it. It's not good for us if you're not excited about it, because then it's just like wasted resources within a studio and team that we love and a franchise that we love. It doesn't do anything good for Guerrilla or Sony, obviously, if it gets canceled or whatever. So I want it to succeed. I just am really nervous that it can, with the direction that's going in right now, for all the reasons we've been talking about. Phoebe, feel like there's been some development hell involved? Maybe. I don't know. We're probably never going to know, you know. Somebody would have to like leak information to know that, and like someone from the studio. And I don't know. Maybe we'll know that someday. Hopefully it doesn't get to a point where information like that needs to leak. Hopefully changes can be made to this to actually make it appeal to some more Horizon fans. And yeah, and hopefully it can succeed in some way. But it's weird, man. I mean, let me pull up the Steel Frontiers trailer. It's really strange. I agree with Joe Raptor on this. I think he mentioned it in his sort of unfiltered reaction video. But there's a lot of aspects of Steel Frontiers that I actually like better than what I'm seeing in Hunter's Gathering. And this is from the studio that's not Guerrilla. This is NC Soft in South Korea, who licensed the IP. And I think the visual, I'll just skip ahead so we're going to pass this cinematic. I think the visual style of this is way closer to the main Horizon games. I have the same fundamental concerns about gameplay with this as I do for Hunter's Gathering. I think it's way more melee focused, and I think it seems like it lacks the precision of combat that we like in the main games, and like stealth and rope casters and trip casters and all that kind of makes Horizon really unique. The kind of like subtle things like knockdown mechanics and hitting canisters to trigger elemental explosions and all that. Like that feels lacking in both games to me, especially if let's watch the Stalker mount. I kind of love this shot. We have a Stalker mount in this game, right? That character with the Stalker companion in Hunter's Gathering better be able to ride her Stalker around, because like it'd be wild if the mobile game lets you ride a Stalker and then we can't do that in Hunter's Gathering and Horizon 3, by the way. We better be able to do that in Horizon 3 now. But let me skip ahead to the gameplay here, because I think that's, again, I still have concerns about this gameplay. But like this, yeah, see, it's still very melee focused, right? Like that's my problem with both games, is it looks like we're going to be just whacking machines. And like this, that kind of looks cool, like charging up to do a counter. I don't know if we'll have something like that in Hunter's Gathering. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. But I just don't think a Horizon game should have melee as the core combat system. I really don't. I don't think that's the right move. There's the whole like grappling around. Yeah, this is cool. Like these guys have polecasters. This looks like Forbidden West, you know? Swinging around like that. Like if we want to have more mobility in Hunter's Gathering, why isn't it like this with a polecaster? Give them all a polecaster and let us zip around like that instead of like floating around. That's way cooler. I think the cauldrons here look way closer to the main games. The machines look way closer to the main games. I don't know. It's a weird situation. You do have to wonder how much the fact that this game exists, that both games exist at the same time, influence each other, right? Like maybe Steel Frontiers was licensed out before Guerrilla got far enough along with Hunter's Gathering. And then they were kind of like, Sony maybe was kind of like, well, you know, we already have a game that looks like that. NCSoft is making it. It's called Steel Frontiers. So you guys need to make something that looks distinctively different. And that's, I don't know. I have no idea if that's what happened, but it does seem like maybe there's a dynamic here where they're trying to keep the games looking distinctively separate with art styles and all that. But I think most Horizon fans would rather see this. The problem is this is on PlayStation, right? This isn't on PlayStation, and it's also not on Steam. It's on PC, grappling onto machines. That's super cool. It's on like the Purple platform, which is NCSoft's like also mounting machine weapons on the back of your mount like this is super cool. That's a great mechanic. Like hopefully that's in Horizon 3. Dinosaur, thank you for the 100. I'm not sure what currency that is, but I appreciate the super chat. Zero Dawn and Forbidden West are some of your favorite games of all time. Steel Frontiers appeals much more to me in pretty much every way than Hunter's Gathering, but the mobile monetization, right? Yeah, unfortunately, I feel like we're in a situation where we have 2 Horizon co-op multiplayer games, which is more than any of us ever expected or asked for. But both of them are like potentially fundamentally problematic in different ways. And I wish, obviously we can't do this, but I wish we could take certain parts of Steel Frontiers, like the art style, and put it, take the best parts of both of these and put them together and get rid of the parts we don't like. But this is where we're at. Yeah, Palin, I can't wrap my head around the choices either. I will say I struggle to believe. Let's pull up something else here. I showed this in my video too. This is a Zero Dawn trailer from, 8 years ago, from 2017. Earth is Ours No More. And there's a clip in here that I think gives the right vibe of what I would like Hunter's Gathering to be. Did I bring this up earlier?
And was nature. Not for us.
Right here. These guys. Sneaking around with, they both have bows, not melee weapons, right? Hooded, like it looks cool. Like I haven't played much of these games, but Ghost Recon, The Division, like it's a little bit more like that, right? Like more mature. There's more like strategy. If like I get the vibe that there's like more of strategy and tactic going on with this. This is what I would love. Like this vibe is what I would love for it to be. And this was all set up just to like have Aloy pop out here with Thunderjaw. But these 2 guys.
Not for us. Not for us. Not for us.
And this was 2017. This was just before. This was just before the game came out, actually. Zero Dawn. And so you have to wonder, like, when they went and made this 8, 9 years ago, I just struggle to believe that this is where Guerrilla would have ended up on their own. You know what I mean?
And they turned against us. Now, they're getting... We need a team.
Like, maybe they did. Maybe they did. Maybe they ended up here on their own. But I struggle to see how they ended up here when I really think early on they were more like here. They were more like here. Jor, good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. Hot take. I think we deep down all know what needs to happen, but it won't be easy. Hunter's Gathering is not it. Cancel that, focus on Horizon 3, and retool Steel Frontiers as a PS5 PC game. That could be the answer. That could be the answer. I guess I still am in the camp that, like, I guess I wonder how that would go. I'm still sort of in the camp where it's hard for me to let go of, like, Guerrilla making this and just say, like, well, let's let NCSoft do it. But maybe if Guerrilla had more involvement and something, something along those lines, which is maybe how it could go. But
Not for us.
yeah, this is just more, I think this is what most Horizon fans want. This kind of vibe right here. Yeah. I don't know how we ended up here. It feels like there's an agenda being pushed by someone. That's really how it feels. I don't know if that's internal at Guerrilla or if it's Sony leadership, or some combination, but it feels like someone was given a checklist of like, it needs to be this, this, and this, and this to appeal to a broad audience. Make sure it does that. And the fact that it's been in development for so long in some form does make me wonder where they started with it and if they were in a very different place with it at some point. Glad to hear you're doing well, Jor. Good to see my takes on the reveal. Yeah. It's crazy, man. I'm glad that you and I are able to finally talk about the fact that we were there. It's been a little bit difficult to keep that under wraps, but it's nice to be able to talk about it a little bit more freely now. Elk, if they wanted to succeed, they should have taken a note from Night Rain. It's the same as single player. It's the same single player game with a minor twist in multiplayer. Yeah, so I haven't played Night Rain and I've played very little Elden Ring, but from what I've seen of Night Rain, I think that's a great point. Like Night Rain is the co-op PvE version of Elden Ring. The art style is basically exactly the same as the main games, right? You guys correct me if I'm wrong on that, but it's basically the same art style as the main games. The core gameplay mechanics, seem to be basically the same as the main games. There's obviously changes that were made for co-op and all that. And I think there's like a storm that shrinks in Night Rain too. But at its core, it's still Elden Ring. And they just basically took Elden Ring and changed the minimum amount of stuff they needed to make it work for co-op. And that's, in my opinion, I think most of our opinion, what they should have done with the Horizon multiplayer. It should have been take the main games, change the minimum of what you need to make it work for co-op. And that's just not what we're getting. Just not what we're getting. Akion, thank you for the 2,000. I don't know what currency that is. Sorry, but you just showed your trailer to the 6 and 9-year-old sons. The elder says the art style doesn't matter for him as long as the game is fun to play and it's in the Horizon world. Yeah, it may appeal to a younger audience. I mean, that's super cool. And somebody else actually made a similar comment, I think maybe on Discord or in my YouTube comments, like that they showed it to their kids and their kids were like, this looks pretty cool. The problem is kids don't have $40. Like if this is a paid game, kids don't have money to spend on it. They're going to have to get their parents to buy it. That's why kids, disproportionately play Roblox and Fortnite and Marvel Rivals and these Apex Legends, free to play games. And this, I don't know, maybe this will be free to play at launch. I don't think so. I just don't get that impression. Maybe it will go free to play at some point because it has to like have any kind of player base. But yeah, there seems to be a lot of mismatching here. Like the target audience, I don't think is going to come for this. I don't think the target audience that they're going for right now is going to come together to form a core player base for this. And at the same time, they're just doing so much to alienate existing Horizon fans, to where it's not going to get, they're not going to get a core player base, not a big enough one, I know some people are excited for it, but they're not going to get a big enough player base from Horizon fans either. So, Jor, crazy part is that the best live service attempt, even though it wasn't a real attempt, is Ghost of Tsushima Legends modes. Feels like trying something small that would, yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, this whole live service thing is super weird, man. It's the fact that they canceled the Last of Us one. What was it supposed to be called? Not Grounded, something else. But I feel like there were a lot of people that would have loved like basically a continuation of the Factions. Thank you. Yes, Elk. It's factions. A continuation of like just a little bit more development on factions from the first Last of Us game. And then maybe there's some like light monetization, or it's like a $20 game to get into. Yeah. And go Legends mode, like next week, state of play. Very good chance we're going to see Legends mode for Ghost of Yotei, right? And people loved Legends mode in Ghost of Tsushima. It was never big enough to stand on its own as like a live service game, but at this point, I think most of us would have rather have seen something small like that with Horizon 2 as opposed to this. At least that's, I think, how most Horizon fans feel. Eagle, you're going to be heading out. Thanks for being here, man. See you later. You think they will do a Sonic movie marketing tactic, hence the fact that they started very early, being open for feedback? I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. A Sonic movie marketing tactic. Like they'll have the Horizon movie come out and that will drive players to this? Elk. Yeah, Saros. I'm really excited for Saros, man. That's going to be really cool. Yeah. The other thing I was thinking about, I forget where somebody suggested this, but there is like, it's heavily rumored we're going to get a state of play next week. We probably will. They always do one in September or February. What am I talking about? In February. So a couple things around that, right? Clearly this could have waited a week to be announced at a state of play, and it was not. I'm going to go full cam here again for a second. We've been looking at this trailer a bunch of times. I don't think we need to roll through it again. State of play next week. They could have waited a week to reveal this. Why did they not do that? I think the answer to that is they wanted a little bit of a lower key, quiet reveal, right? They wanted to get this out there and not have it in front of, like, kind of just minimize the exposure, because they want people to be aware and they want to get their play tests going, which is good. I'm glad they're getting play tests going, and hopefully they actually will take feedback, and even more, hopefully they actually will implement feedback. But why didn't they wait till the state of play? I think they wanted to keep it a little bit quieter. And then somebody suggested, I think this is a pretty small chance, but it would be a good move to reveal Horizon 3 next week. I mean, obviously us saying that here has no influence on whether they're going to do that or not. But there's some logic there to saying, like, maybe they strategically revealed this the way they did right now, and then next week they reveal Horizon 3. And I don't think that's likely to happen. I really don't. I'd be pretty surprised to see that. But it would make some sense in the fact that they'd give this like a week of relatively low key breathing room, and then they kind of hit us with Horizon 3 and like kind of get a lot of us back on board with the franchise a little bit, right? Like that would make a lot of us pretty happy to see even like a short cinematic tease for Horizon 3, just to like really clearly reaffirm that they're working on it. Aloy's the main character. It's single player. I know they sort of said at the beginning of the Hunter's Gathering trailer that, that they're still focused on single player games, but showing Horizon 3 would be the definitive way to kind of appease people. I think it's really unlikely we see it next week. Frankly, I think it's still too early. Maybe we see it later this year, but I'm smirking. No, guys, I really don't know. I mean, I know I'm under NDA and you can't like trust me from that standpoint, but I don't know anything about Horizon 3. I really don't. I highly doubt it would be revealed next week, but I thought that was an interesting idea that somebody threw out, that like, and if they did it, if they happen to do it, I don't think they will, but if they happen to do it, I think that would be a smart move. I just don't think they're ready to do it. So, Harg, you know a few things about Horizon 3. Aloy's in it. There will be machines. Yeah. He's dropping all the leaks right now. Dropping all the leaks. Yeah, like I was saying before, I do have a hard time believing that Guerrilla would have ended up here on their own. It feels like there was some kind of agenda pushed in terms of like trying to make it appeal to a broad audience. And unfortunately, this is where we've ended up with it. So, yeah, like Jor said, maybe the right move is that this game gets shut down at some point and the focus turns to Steel Frontiers getting also put on PlayStation. I don't think they're going to shut it down before launch, though. I think they're going to try to launch this, unless the playtest feedback just tells them that it's completely not viable. And I kind of doubt that it would. Like, I think they'll get feedback and they'll hopefully try to make changes. I'd be surprised if they just decided, somewhat surprised if they just decided, like, we're going to shut it down after all this time they've spent on it. I think they're going to at least want to try to get it out there. But they certainly don't want another Concord on their hands where they have to like recall it. So there is a possibility they cancel it before launch, always. Jory, you don't think they'll announce Horizon 3 next week either? Would have been cool as part of their original announced video. Yeah, I agree. The real move would have been to show a teaser for Horizon 3 like at the end of this or at the beginning of or somewhere in with this reveal. That would have been the real move, but they didn't do that. Which is also why I think it's really unlikely they'd show it next week, because why would they not show it with this one? I think there's an argument there to say they'd want to give them each a little bit of breathing room. And the one more big thing that they always do at a state of play, what is that going to be right now? You know, is it Silent Hill 2 or Until Dawn 2? Until Dawn 2. There's already a Silent Hill 2, right? Is it the God of War Metroidvania 2.5D thing is the one more thing next week? I don't know. Horizon 3 would obviously fit that bill to be the one more big thing, but I think it's really unlikely that they put that out next week. Pellin, feel like there was enough market research available to show that a live service isn't the right move. I'm not completely, like, I've wanted a co-op multiplayer Horizon game for a long time. And I actually kind of want it to be a live service model. Like, I want it to be a big game that goes on for a long time, because if you can successfully make a good live service game, like within this franchise or any franchise, it's like a money printing machine to support the rest of the franchise, right? Like, it would mean probably more great single player games for us in the future beyond Horizon 3, like maybe spin-off games where you play as, I don't know, Talana, or a spin-off game where you play as Silence or something like that. But yeah, this form, no, is not the right move. So Your future Horizon update video would have been better. Reveal Horizon 3, some merch, and then this game, not let it be the main focus. But this did give them the best feedback. Yeah, I agree. It would have been, I think it would have overall been better to just have like a, here's everything we're working on at Guerrilla. Horizon 3, Hunter's Gathering, here's everything. But you have a good point there too, that having this be revealed in isolation lets them gauge people's response a little bit more easily, right? I think they still would have been able to pretty much come to the same conclusion on people's responses if they also showed Horizon 3 at the same time. But it may have muddied the waters a little bit. It maybe would have made it harder. Like it would have appeased single player gamers too much. It would have appeased existing Horizon fans too much, maybe, to see Horizon 3 at the same time, to where they just wouldn't say anything about Hunter's Gathering. And then I think that would skew the response towards, like, there just wouldn't be a lot of commentary about Hunter's Gathering, which is probably not what you want. You probably want more commentary to know where people stand on it. But I also struggle to believe that they couldn't have predicted the response. Like, I cut the top of my head off again. Sorry, guys. Why is that not working? There we go. I struggle to believe that they thought this was going to go over well, right? I think they had to make an internal decision about, well, do we spend even more time in the dark with this and try to make changes? Or do we get it out there and start to get people's feedback? And so I think if they weren't ready to make big changes based on existing feedback prior to this reveal, then the best move was to just like get it out there and start doing wider play tests. So I'm happy that they're doing the play tests, I guess, is what I'm saying. The announced video shows they knew exactly the response they were walking into? Yeah, I think so. The fact that they started out like, don't worry, we're still making single player games. Jor, super hard to recover from a meh reveal. There's just too many other games. Yeah. Yeah, that is definitely kind of a fundamental factor here. Marathon, I know I made the Marathon comparison, and it's a bit of a weird comparison to make because it's a very different game. It's a very different target audience. It's a very different art style. It's just totally different. The only similarity is that it's a PlayStation first-party live service co-op game, right? I think the trajectory Marathon seems to be on could be a little bit of hope that like Sony would devote the resources needed to make changes, big changes to this. But I think the changes that would need to be made to this are quite a bit bigger than what needed to happen with Marathon, honestly. Like a lot of the Marathon feedback originally was more like the art style felt a little bit, they didn't change the art style very much. People liked the art style actually of Marathon. They just kind of refined the art style because people had complaints about it being like a little bit washed out and like hard to see because it was foggy. Like those are minor things, you know? And then I think there were a lot of complaints about the fact that like there wasn't proximity chat and there wasn't like mostly like a bunch of comments about how it was balanced, right? And I think the changes that need to happen here are like completely rework the combat system with Hunter's Gathering. Like needs to be ranged combat focused, like the main Horizon games. The whole art style needs to shift. Like these are huge changes. And I don't know that they're going to want to spend the time or resources to make all or any of those changes to the extent that they would need to kind of claw back Horizon fans being interested in this, broadly speaking. Jor, Marathon's still a Bungie shooter. It's not that big of a departure from their other work in a genre that makes sense. Those has been successful. Yeah, there's a lot of differences. I guess the one point about Marathon that I think is still worthwhile kind of keeping in mind is if it's successful, if its launch is successful in a few months, or in a few months, what am I talking about? In a few weeks, then that would be a signal to Sony that like, okay, if we do take player feedback, which they did, they took a bunch of player feedback, then and implement it, then we can have success with these live service games. And so if Marathon is at least moderately successful, I think it would be a signal to Sony that it's worth spending more time and resources on Hunter's Gathering. But like I said, it's a different situation. Like there's so much more that I think has to change to make it appeal to Horizon fans. And that may just not be what they're going for. Like they may not really be that concerned about it appealing to Horizon fans. They may be focused on appealing to a different audience here. Certainly seems that way. But like I said multiple times before, I just don't see where they're going to pull that audience from to create a core player base. Amy, believe the preferred nomenclature for multiple sawtooth is sawteeth. Yes, that's true. Jort, totally agree that the impact of Marathon can probably already be seen with this rollout. Yeah, like the fact that they're rolling out a playtest right at reveal. That's not something that we've seen before, really, right? I don't think so. I think this is the first time Sony has rolled out a live service game, and at the announcement, they're like, we're having a playtest in a few weeks, right? We're having a playtest soon, and we're going to do a series of playtests where the general public has a chance to get in and give us feedback. So I think they've learned from Concord, they've learned from Marathon, that they need to get people in earlier. Herman Hulst has mentioned that in Sony business segment meetings, right? At least once. He clearly said we need to get people in earlier and get more feedback so we can make changes and make adjustments. At the same time, this game has already been in development for a really long time. So it's good they're doing a playtest now, but I think you could make the argument that they actually needed people in even quite a bit earlier than now, right? So Elk Dreams had a playtest? Okay. Yeah, Dreams is kind of a different situation, but that's a good point. I didn't know that, actually. Marvin, they should have made the game, but just not use the Horizon IP. Fine, make the game, but then use other designs. Yeah, it's like that's what we were talking about a little while ago. It's like if you took the machines out of this, you just replaced the machines with some other kind of enemy, and you took the Horizon logo off the key art and the box art. Would you even call it Horizon? I think there's still some tropes in there, and there's some elements in there that you'd be like, this looks a lot like Horizon, but at that point, it really wouldn't be a Horizon game. And you could almost say that, like, just make it something different that's not within the IP if you want to do a game like this. That's why I said earlier, I really struggle to see Guerrilla, if left to their own devices, ending up with this as opposed to something more like this.
Not for us.
There's also where's all that old footage? It's going to be a little tricky to find it, but there's like Horizon Zero Dawn co-op concept footage, maybe. I mean, a lot of you guys, I'm sure, have seen this, right? Early prototype gameplay. Yeah, where is it? Somewhere in here, there's like, they show co-op stuff. Right here. Right? Like, see, these kind of the same vibe, right? Some hooded guys sneaking around in the bushes with ranged weapons. They have crossbows here, but this was like super duper early, right? Like they were just kind of kit bashing things together from Killzone at this point. But this is where they started with Horizon co-op. We know that because they've shown it to us right here, right? So there was some kind of pivot at some point, whether they decided that on their own or there was external pressure to end up where we ended up with Hunter's Gathering. I don't know. But even this super rough early co-op kit bashing footage here is closer to what I would want. This is closer to what I would want. I understand the graphics can't be exactly the same as the main games for technical reasons. And people have sort of made the argument, well, how come Steel Frontiers looks so much more like the main game? How come Steel Frontiers can look so much more like the main games while, where's the gameplay stuff? It's somewhere in here. Yeah. So like one of my concerns for Steel Frontiers is because the art style is more detailed, like it may feel kind of like you have high latency all the time because it might be difficult to do sync between the server or to the server, I guess is what I'm saying. So that's going to kind of remain to be seen how well it feels to play when you have to do a lot more synchronization. But there are multiplayer games that are more detailed that work. I don't think it's an impossible task. I think you could make the argument that the Hunter's Gathering art style makes it easier for them to like do the technical back-end stuff, but I don't think it's 100% necessary. And Steel Frontiers is going to give us definitive proof whether or not that's the case for a Horizon game. But you can look at like The Division, Ghost Recon, you know, those are much more photorealistic looking games that have co-op that run just fine. Even like Call of Duty, Battlefield, you know, it can work to have more of a photorealism look. And it's not like you suffer from huge latency problems. So I don't think that's a good enough argument on its own to say that's why we had to go for this art style, you know. And I don't think that's the actual like only reason by a long shot. Tidbits, unfortunate they didn't release the trailer 8 weeks later. Why? What's 8 weeks later? What's happening in 8 weeks? Something in April? Captain Logic, Warcraft was RTS, became a franchise, and also World of Warcraft. And everyone was excited to play in a similar world. No one freaked out about it. We'll get Horizon 3 also. I guess I don't know completely what you're saying there, but April Fool's joke. I get it. That's what's happening in 8 weeks. Yeah, you have a point there, Captain Logic. Like, Horizon 3 is still coming. It's like we're 99% sure, you know, that it's going to be Aloy. They've said it's going to be single player. I'm sure Aloy is going to be the main character, right? We'll still get that. And so in a lot of ways, you can just say, like, if you don't like what you're seeing here with Hunter's Gathering, just ignore it. And then you'll get your single player game when it comes. But I think all the strong feelings around this show, and this is kind of one of the crazy big picture points that I kind of keep circling back to, is I feel like some of the driving logic with Hunter's Gathering is they don't think that existing Horizon fans have any interest in a multiplayer game for the most part. But I think, look at the reaction. A lot of us would like to play some kind of co-op form of Horizon. You know, obviously this community here is skewed big time. Like, I'm a massive Horizon fan. Most or all of you here are big Horizon fans, right? So we're obviously biased, but I think the overall reaction you can just see, like in the trailer comments and everything, like there's a fair number of people who are Horizon fans that would have liked some kind of co-op experience, and they're not happy with what they're seeing with Hunter's Gathering. And even if they like what they're seeing with Steel Frontiers, like even if you think Steel Frontiers is looking good, I don't know how well that's going to do with Western audiences, because unless they bring it to PlayStation and probably also Steam, because it's going to be on PC, but it's going to be on like NCSoft's Purple launcher, which I've never used. I don't know. Maybe it's okay, but the Western audience isn't going to play it mobile very much. That's for sure. Elk, Horizon fans where people keep telling me they don't exist. I know. And that's even like the broader conversation, right? People are like, why do they keep making Horizon games? There's no Horizon fans. Meanwhile, the franchise has sold 40 million plus copies. You know, it's extremely well received and sells really well. Yeah, and I made this point in my video too, but you can just kind of do a quick thought experiment there and say, well, if it sold 40 million copies, whoops, let me mute that. If Horizon sold over 40 million copies, most of that's Zero Dawn and Forbidden West. If you cut it in half, because like if I bought Zero Dawn and then I bought Forbidden West, I'm just one player, right? So there's not 40 million plus fans / players / customers. Cut it in half, say there's 20 million. It's probably less than that because, you know, I don't know if they're counting copies of like the remaster and DLCs and the Lego game. Not that that's going to count for much, but cut it in half again and just say there's 10 million Horizon fans out there. There's almost definitely more than that. But there's 10 million plus existing Horizon fans out there. If you can get 1% of those people to become regular players of a multiplayer game of Hunter's Gathering, that's 100,000 people. Not enough to keep the game afloat forever, but that's a pretty good core player base to have as a starting point at launch. And that's just 1%. I think you could probably make it appeal to like a few percent of the existing Horizon player base, if it was actually what people wanted for the most part, like if it's actually what most of us are talking about and saying we want. But it's not. You know, that's just not where it's at. For the people that like what they're seeing, that's awesome. You know, and again, like I said earlier, don't let everybody else's negativity detract from you being excited for the game. I just don't think there's enough people out there right now that are excited for this to have a big enough player base to make this game like survive. Like, I think if it launched without big changes, it would maybe have a few thousand to 10, maybe 20,000 people concurrent playing it at a time, maybe a little bit more, but that's not enough. Like, you need pushing probably well above 50,000 concurrent on a regular basis, definitely above like 30,000 concurrent, I would say, on a regular basis to even be like just getting by. And really the target's probably going to be like 100,000 plus on a regular basis, maybe not at any given moment, but like on weekends, or like 80,000 plus or 70,000 plus. And I just don't see it attracting that many people as regular players at this point without big changes happening. So, yeah. Franklin, you like it because it's Dauntless, not because it's Horizon? Yeah. We mentioned that earlier too. I think I've seen a lot of comments about people saying this looks a lot like Dauntless. But maybe you can remind me, because I don't know all the details of it. Why did Dauntless, it ultimately shut down, right? And I think it was because it couldn't attract a big enough player base to stay alive. If I'm wrong about that, correct me. But I think that was ultimately what it was. Like, maybe they had some other issues, but I think Dauntless just didn't attract a big enough player base to stay alive. And that's kind of what I'm seeing. That's what I think this is headed towards right now, unless it can make some big changes. Yep. Cookie time, Floss. You never skip cookie time, man. That's awesome. Arg, the game could use couch co-op. That's a great point. I've seen other people make that point as well. Yeah, there was no mention of couch co-op. I don't think it seems to be like a part of the game right now, but that would be really cool. I think it would be, I don't know if it would be a big enough feature to like save the game, right? Probably not, but that would definitely be something that would make it attractive to like families, you know, maybe Horizon fans who have kids. And some people have mentioned that here. Some people have mentioned that on like the Discord server and my YouTube comments, that their kids think it looks really cool. And it would be like fun to be able to share this experience with kids as a Horizon fan that's like more mature. And couch co-op would be a great way to do that. You know, if you could sit down with one or two other people on the couch with controllers and just play it together, that'd be pretty fun. But it doesn't look like it's part of it right now. Maybe they could add that, and that would help it a bit. I don't think it's going to expand the player base enough to make it survive, but Captain Logic, dilution of properties is a real problem. Just ask Fortnite. Too many modes broke the core game. No unity in the communities. I guess I used to play a decent amount of Fortnite with some friends like years ago at this point. So I don't know. I don't really know what the dynamic is there. I know they've added tons of modes, and I know what you're talking about with dilution. I don't think this game is, at least my impression of it right now is, that wouldn't be its problem, that like it has too many game modes. And they're just going to have two in the playtest, right? The Machine Incursion and Cauldron Descent. So I don't think the problem for this right now is that it has too many game modes, but I guess I don't know what you're getting at with the dilution thing. Chop Sun, thank you for the Prime sub. Appreciate that. And the Silverhawk, thank you for your Prime sub. Much appreciated. Katie Dad, the look of Breath of the Wild is the same now as it was then. You own Breath of the Wild, just haven't played it yet. I guess I wasn't following your conversation there. You feel the art of Breath of the Wild is worse than this? I think it's kind of subjective. Depends what your tastes are. But Tidbits, I missed a super chat earlier. The 6 and 9-year-old one? Or the Exors one? I think I read the one from Akion, didn't I? I thought I read both of these. Appreciate you guys with the super chats if I missed one. Jax, maybe? Is that the one you're talking about? The majority of your chat who are Horizon fans are not interested in any of the characters they've chosen. Give us a character creator and buy cosmetics, not this. Yeah. Maybe I missed that one. If I did, sorry about that. But yeah, I think the characters just don't appeal to most people. Well, maybe some of them do, but for the most part, I think the characters are a big problem. And like I said earlier, I think if I could just give one single change to make this appeal a little bit more to Horizon fans, there's a lot of changes I would want them to make. Like, I really think the core gameplay needs to shift much further back towards what the main Horizon games have with ranged weapons and a lot more precision. It just looks way too melee focused to me. But one change that would be relatively easy that might get some people back on board, Horizon fans back on board, would be replace at least some of that character lineup. Are they going to give us the character lineup here? I forget where it was. I think it was at the end of the cinematic, wasn't it? Yeah, replace at least some of this character lineup with a few characters from the main games, like Talana, Katalo, and I don't know, Sona. Give us a few recognizable people. But personally, I would love to have a character creator where I can just create my own player avatar. That would be better in my opinion. But that's not what we got. That's not what we're dealing with right now. Maybe they can change that. I struggle to see them at this point putting in a player avatar creator, character creator, but I don't know. They could do that. They could do it. Like, I don't think there's any gameplay reason you couldn't. Like, you could have class selection for a player avatar. I think what they're trying to go for with having distinctive characters is they've mentioned that there's going to be a story campaign. Where does Aryan talk about that?
What makes
Let me
Horizon
pull
so
that up.
unique. At launch, you'll be able to play the story campaign solo with NPCs or together in co-op. But that won't be part of the playtest. We want you to experience the story fresh when the game is ready. What we can say is that it's fully canon within the Horizon universe.
Fully
It
canon.
introduces new characters, new threats, and new mysteries that expand this part of the world. And new threats and new mysteries that expand this part of the world. And the story doesn't stop at launch. We'll keep adding new adventures over time to the game.
I mean, that is cool that they're going to have a story campaign and they're planning to add new adventures to it. Like, they keep expanding it after launch to extend the campaign. I think that's cool. And maybe they're keeping it under wraps. So we're not going to be able to play the story in the playtest. And it sounds like they're going to keep that under wraps until the game actually launches. So maybe the story mode, which you can play solo, makes us feel more connected to these characters. But I'm skeptical. I'm skeptical of that. Justin, do I think it needs existing familiar characters to be playable, or would it be enough to include them in the story? That's a good question. I don't think they necessarily have to be playable, but I think they need to be a lot more present than they are right now. Like, maybe my ideal would be you get to create your own character, But then when you go on missions or you play the campaign, you go like with Talana, or you go with Erend, or both of them, or, you know, you go with people, and you don't play as one of the existing characters, but you play with them, and they're like an integral part of the experience. That would be cool. Or even if you're playing as one of these new characters and you get to play like with Talana, with Erend, or whoever else, that would be cool too. So I guess you don't necessarily have to play as existing characters, but I think right now we're not even really going to be, it doesn't look like we're going to be interacting with even Erend that much, even though he's kind of like the leader here, it seems like. It looks like in the, where's the camp at, where you like interact with NPCs? Like, we've got Petra as a merchant, I think, essentially in here. Where do they show it? Must have been earlier. I'm not sure, but they show, oh, right here. I think I went a little bit too far past it. So you're in the hub camp, the Hunter's Gathering, and then you got Petra up there as an NPC, right? So like that's not enough level of interaction for me. Like, I want to go on a quest with Petra. I don't want to just do weapon upgrades with her or something, right? So I don't think we have to play as new characters, but I think they need to be way more integrated into like you're constantly interacting with them from a gameplay standpoint, not like on missions and on story, like part of the narrative, and not just as like merchants. So, but I would still prefer to have the option to either have my own customizable character or play as some existing characters. Mr. AR, a playable Ikri? Yeah, that would be one of my favorite ones for sure. I think she would be super cool. Not as recognizable, right? Because she's just in the Frozen Wilds on like a couple quests, so most people probably don't know who Ikri is. But like, she could be one that they add after launch, and it would be super cool. Justin, just keeping in mind that they're holding back almost the entirety of the story stuff. Maybe options on characters may change when they're ready to reveal story. That's true. That's true. You know, there may actually be some of this integration that we're talking about here with existing characters in some capacity through the story campaign, and we just haven't seen it yet because they're trying to keep it under wraps. But I think it would have been good if that's true. I think it would have been good in the reveal to at least just tease, like when Aryan's talking about the story, maybe in these sketches, for example. I guess they are showing a sketch of like, well, that's a good question. Let's see. Is that Erend? I don't know. Maybe. Who are these sketches of? That could be, who's Varga's dad? Bergrand? Maybe that's Bergrand, but it looks like a new character to me. You do have Petra there, so maybe we do go on some kind of adventure with Petra. That looks like one of the new characters. So yeah, it would have been good to at least tease like a very recognizable character in the story section there, if it's true that we're actually going to go on some kind of quest. Yeah, Bergrand, like, why not have Bergrand be the merchant in Hunter's Gathering? That would make a lot more sense than Petra being the merchant. But Tidbits, thank you for the gifted membership, sir. Appreciate that. Jens, wonder how much the story will actually even affect Horizon 3, especially if it flops massively. I don't think, I think they're probably setting themselves up in a way here where it probably isn't going to be that tightly integrated with the canon, because they probably want to be able to pivot and make sure, and like also kind of protect the main series games and the narrative of the main series games, so they can make sure that they're that they don't have to do something weird with that would like compromise the main story in the main games. So we'll see. We'll see. It is a big question, just like how it's going to affect and integrate with the main story in Horizon 3. Justin, story is something they can pivot on based on feedback easier than gameplay / structure. Yeah, that's absolutely true. However, we're not really going to be able to give feedback on the story because they said they're going to keep it under wraps until launch, right? So I think they're going to, the feedback that's story related that they're going to be able to get is kind of related to the characters. But I don't think, maybe at some point we'll get to play some kind of story mission within a playtest. But as of right now, they said they're keeping it under wraps until launch. So I don't know how much story stuff we're going to be able to give feedback on, really. Elk, you think they used canon as a selling point that they thought would go over well, but in reality it won't be much? Yeah. They mentioned that this would be canon in that section of the trailer. I think they did intentionally do that because they know people would prefer. Well, that's the thing, is now we're kind of split on it, right? Now some of us are like, I don't want this to be canon at all. And some of us want it to be changed so that it makes sense to be canon, I think, would be the other kind of general, the other side of the argument. But, yeah, they obviously intentionally put that in there. But that, I think it kind of is just another thing that highlights how this game's in such a weird spot right now, because there's little things like that where I think they did it because they like, we need to say that because that's what we think existing Horizon fans are going to want. They want more canon within the main storyline, obviously. So like, let's reassure them that this isn't just something that just is like completely, you know, pulled out of thin air, that it actually has some grounding in the main story's canon. So there's little things like that that feel like decisions made to appeal to existing Horizon fans. But then on the whole, like the art style, the gameplay, the characters, Aloy handing it off to Aaron, and then Aaron handing it off to these new characters that we don't know anything about. There's so many decisions there that are like distancing it from the main games, that it's just, it's really strange. It puts it in a really weird spot. It gives me the impression that like they've struggled internally to figure out how they position this relative to the main games. Like, do they make it closer to the main games? Do they make it further? I think they recognize on some level that they can't completely alienate existing Horizon fans. And yet on the whole, I think they kind of have alienated most existing Horizon fans, unfortunately. Again, I know some people are excited for it. I just don't think enough people are excited for it to keep a live service game like this alive in the long run. All right. I think I'm going to stop running the trailer footage here, and we may hop back into it, but I'm going to sit down because I've been standing for a little while now. I'm also going to take this hoodie off because it's getting hot in here. And I'm going to get my chair. We'll play a little Zero Dawn. We'll keep talking about it. But I feel like we're kind of going over a lot of the same points at this point. So let me just get Zero Dawn fired up here. Let's see. Looks like the stream may have hiccuped there for a second. I'm going to keep the combined chat up. We don't usually do that when we're playing, but I think for right now it's good, because since we're still kind of talking about it. Do I think Overwatch-like abilities will be handled within the canon of the original game? Like in Horizon 3, you mean? That's an interesting question. I don't think they would give... Hang on, I gotta get my VRR working here. Are you working now? No. I gotta turn my monitor off and back on. The thing is, Aloy has some abilities that are almost like superpowers, you know, in a sense, like Radial Blast. But they feel more grounded in the universe. Like she has her spear, and she has the resonator on the spear that, you know, is a way you explain the energy being stored in it. There we go. Now it's working properly. The grapple strike she can fly around with, but it's, you know, like it's a polecaster. She has it's explained how she's able to do that. And even in the animations, you can see how she's able to do that because there's a rope, right, that she pulls herself with. I don't have any particular objective here with Zero Dawn. We're just going to fight some machines. But I don't even know what my loadout looks like right now. Ice cannon. Bombs. I got the striker bow. And a rope caster. Okay. Obviously we can switch that up, but let's get a little healing here first. Yeah, I kind of doubt they would go all the way to like giving Aloy superpowers in the third game. That would be really weird. I hope they don't do that. Saw teeth. Yup. These are Scorchers, though. We have two of them or just one of them? I feel like the other one's lurking around here somewhere. Maybe it's just the one. I haven't played any Zero Dawn in a while. Oh, I love the ice rail. Oh, missed the eye there. Yeah, man, this Horizon combat is so good. Is it loud? Is the game like super loud? This is so much better than the trailer. Oh. Horizon Forbidden West combat is way better. I do like everything they added in Forbidden West, for sure. We could pull up Forbidden West, too. Tidbit, it's loud because you have the volume way up. Yeah. That could be it. I don't think the game sound is really... I actually don't have it up very high at all. We could pull up Forbidden West in a little bit here. Get the shredders out. Subi, yeah, we were on the same wavelength there. Get the shredders out. Yeah, it's kind of wild where we're at right now, guys. It's kind of wild. They revealed it this way. Hunter's Gathering, it's kind of wild what it is. I guess overall, I'm still hopeful. Is the stream freaking out? I think it's okay. Ajax, yeah, I have finished Ghost of Yotei. I'm hopeful that these playtests can at least shift it a little bit. I guess that's kind of my overall stance right now. I don't know how much they're going to be able to shift it. I think Jor has a point that ultimately the move may be, unfortunately, to focus on Steel Frontiers instead. I tend to be in the camp of still wanting to try to morph Hunter's Gathering into something better. But it will be a big challenge, and I don't know if they're going to be willing and able to make big enough changes. So, we'll see. Pelin, you got to bounce. Thanks for being here. It was good seeing you here. I appreciate all your comments and thoughts that you shared as well. I love the Aurora and the Frozen Wilds. At the end of the day, gameplay matters most. Yeah, absolutely. 17% resist ranged attacks. What do I have here? The menu music is just so nostalgic too. 17%. I have 15%, so I guess I could take that. Or drop this one. Disassemble it. Like, even this core mechanic of Zero Dawn, like farming coils, that's something I'd like to have in co-op. Like, we go and we grind a bunch of Thunderjaw hunts, you know, so we can get really good gear. Make our loadout better. But it doesn't... We didn't really talk about the rogue light aspects of it, but that does seem to be a big part of it. And it doesn't really... I'm talking about Hunter's Gathering. It doesn't seem to be... like there's a lot of overall progression where you're like obtaining weapons or gear of any sort over time. So, yeah. Are Apex Thunderjaws weak to free or shock? Machine catalog. The regular ones are strong against shock. Check out Thunder. Thunder's drum in the remaster looks so cool, man. That is such a cool update to that thing. You're back. Where's the shredder? Oh, I went down the wrong path. I always get confused going to this Thunderjaw. Ajax took you a little bit to realize it's Zero Dawn, not Forbidden West. Yeah, they're strong against shock too. freeze. Boom! Oh, don't move your head like that. Come on. I shouldn't have taken that last shot. Never forget the moment you saw your first thunder job, EB. Yeah. I think it's the same one for most of us, too. All right, let's get him. We won't dance with him so much this time. Rip. Burned a lot of chill water with that ice rail. Way more exciting than a fight. Yeah, so the other thing here is concentration. And I know we've talked about this before on stream, like how could concentration work in multiplayer? And I have some ideas for that. The simplest one, I think, would be, like, imagine, you know how in Cyberpunk you have the quick hacks? Like, imagine I'm scanning a machine with the focus, and maybe on the left here or wherever, I basically have a quick hack selection menu. Obviously, you wouldn't call them quick hacks. Maybe you call them focus hacks or something, but some kind of hack or something that lets me make the machine move in slow motion. Like, the point of concentration is the machine moves in slow motion, and you get a bit of a zoom in, and your controls are slowed down so you can aim a little bit more precisely. And sort of a byproduct of it is that the rest of the world slows down too. But you don't need the rest of the world to slow down for the mechanic to be functional, right? Really what you need is the machine to slow down and move in a little bit of like slow motion. And you also need a bit of extra zoom in and control sensitivity reduction for the player. But you could decouple those, right? So it could be a quick hack with the focus. It could be an ammo type that, like, I don't know, it causes like a data overload. Or they could do, yeah, ARG, like adhesive. Like if they made adhesive actually work to where it... Nobody's here. To where it actually like made the machine move in slow motion or stop moving. I think you could sort of decouple the parts of concentration that you need, right? The machine moving slower or being immobilized, and the player getting zoom in and a sensitivity reduction for aiming. I think you can do that in co-op. I think you can do that in multiplayer and have it work well. The other system that I think could work well is what I would call like a party vote. So if there's 3 of us playing, and, you know, like say I want to trigger concentration, so I hit my button for concentration. But at that moment, it doesn't actually trigger it. It just like indicates to you guys, if you're playing with me, that I want to trigger concentration. And then, you know, the second person hits the button for concentration, so now we have 2 votes. And then when the third person hits their button for concentration, then concentration triggers for all of us at the same time. And we pretty much knew when it was going to happen because we were all voting for it to happen. It's not perfect, but I think that could be a cool thing to at least try. And I think it could work. Like maybe it's kind of a group super cooldown, you know? We don't get to do it that often, but when we do, we get like a long period of slow motion where we can like hit the enemy for a lot of damage. I think that would be cool. Yeah, like a Valor Surge sort of. Like a party Valor Surge. Launchers off. No cannon for you. I love the light on the snow. Oh, we missed. Hit. So what do we have here? We've got 45 freeze, 17 range resist, 25 shock resist. 45 freeze, is that what I said? Definitely get rid of this blue one. And this 38. 17 range resist. I have a bunch of. And 25, what was it? Shock? Shock. Resistance. I have much better shock resist. No. Wrong coil. Let's just get rid of these green and blue ones. Arc. I should have turned off stream elements. Sorry, guys. Where is... Here we go. Catty Cat, welcome to the stream. I don't know if you've been here. Maybe you've been here, but it's good to have you here. Horizon is what got you to fall in love with gaming, and your video, my videos were a huge help in that process. Hey, that's awesome to hear. Thanks for letting me know that. That's super cool. Did you start gaming like not that long ago? Mark, you just finished, you just platinumed Forbidden West yesterday. Congrats. That's awesome. Glad you found the videos helpful for that. Like 2 years ago. Catty Cat? Nice. No, the Claws Beneath we actually beat already, so now it's a Fire Claw. My voice is a little hoarse from talking so much. I have no coils on this Ropecaster. Let's see. Big Boy's weak to shock, right? No, he's strong against shock. I think they're weak to shock in Forbidden West, though. Let's just switch it up a little bit here. Do I have just an adept? I guess I have the Adept Lodge warbow. I don't just have an Adept regular warbow? Guess not. Let's get some coils on there. Let me go like, I guess I've really got all the special coils on other weapons right now, but that's all right. I'll just go like this. Emin, is making the jump from Forbidden West back to Zero Dawn really different, or just a few changes? It's not super different. I mean, at the core, it's the same, right? But if you've gotten used to sliding, like I still do it out of habit. If you've gotten used to sliding to dodge, that's really not effective in Zero Dawn. So that's one thing I always have to kind of remind myself of. Boom. I don't have very good frostbite up right now. Missed it. Oh. I didn't dodge to his legs early enough there. Tidbits, thank you for the gifted membership, sir. Appreciate it. Is that a frost claw over there? I think that's a frost claw. Yeah. I need, I'm just going to go back to the sling. Well, no, because I want to be able to hit those canisters, but... Oh, we already have the sling again. That's right, because we died. Let me go like this. And then we'll just throw on some frost and handling. Zero Dawn rock breakers feel harder than Forbidden West ones. I don't know. Yeah, I always kind of felt like that was just because you go into Forbidden West kind of knowing how to deal with a rock breaker. But maybe there's some subtle differences. I guess I don't really need this ropecaster. I could do this. Nobody's here. I grabbed the wrong sling. Blast radius is always bigger than I think it's going to be. Oh, hello. Of course, that removes our frost, though. I thought he was going to freeze there. Right in the eyeball. Nice. 37 damage, 39 corruption. 37 damage. Probably have better than that. Yeah. Okay. Not in the face. Yeah. Not in the face. All right, should we get Forbidden West open a little bit here? A little shredder action, maybe? Teddy Bear just wanted to play. I'm on controller right now. I didn't want to move my keyboards around here. What's my favorite game? Zero Dawn or Forbidden West? It's a tough question. I think the conclusion I've come to on that one is the one that I would prefer to play is Forbidden West because I like the gameplay better. But if you asked me it as which, if I had to like delete one from existence and have only the other one in existence, then I would say keep Zero Dawn because I like the story of Zero Dawn better. And it's like the origin of the whole franchise, you know? And I just couldn't bring myself to be like, you know, delete Zero Dawn and keep Forbidden West, or I can never play Zero Dawn again and I can only play Forbidden West. What do I miss from Zero Dawn that isn't in Forbidden West? Except besides weapons. Let's see, I've got... Where's like my big main save? I think it's this one. Insane how good the Zero Dawn remaster looks. Yeah, it's really good. I mean, I do wish like the, you know, ice rail and some other weapons were in Forbidden West. That'd be cool. But we got a lot of other cool new weapons. I think I like the story of Zero Dawn better. I think kind of the other thing that's sort of nebulous that I wish Forbidden West had more of was just the mystery. You know what I mean? Like, oh, is it compiling shaders? It might be, because I haven't fired this up in so long. We've got the loading bar down there. Yeah, the side quests arguably have better stories in Forbidden West. You could say that. I liked a lot of the side stuff in Zero Dawn too, though. I think it's mostly like kind of just uncovering the mystery aspect of Zero Dawn and kind of like the quiet, mysterious exploration that you can do in Zero Dawn 2. Like, even once you know the whole story, you can kind of, when you're out there just in the wilds, not even hunting machines or anything, if you're just walking around, it gives a different feeling. It would, it just feels a little bit like mysterious. I don't know how to describe it. Whereas in Forbidden West, like, you know, if we're walking around here, I don't know, like, what would be an equivalent sort of biome to be in? Yeah, I don't know. I guess I just like the Zero Dawn map better, is maybe a way to put it. Like, if I just go anywhere, like here, let's go up near the Sky Clan territory. Vegas, yeah, kind of similar to some deserty areas in Zero Dawn. But this would sort of be like the equivalent of the frozen wilds over here. Load. Shader compilation, forgot about that. I do also miss farming for coils from a gameplay standpoint. I wish we could farm for coils for machines in Forbidden West. Maybe it's partially the music. I mean, I love the music of Forbidden West, but maybe that's part of it. Wow, that owl came down like it was like it was stuffed. I don't know. Like, it feels cozier to run around in Forbidden West. And the music maybe has some part to play in that. But it doesn't feel like the world is like you have to be a little bit on edge. You know, it doesn't feel quite as dangerous. It doesn't feel quite as foreign. It feels a little bit cozier and homier, which is nice. I mean, it's obviously fantastically beautiful and very fun to explore. It just doesn't give me quite the same vibe as Zero Dawn. And then, of course, once you have the Sunwing, you can kind of just cruise around. I do really like the Shield Wing. Never got that slab, huh? This will be a long glide. Yeah, Arg, that's kind of what I'm trying to say, I guess. I'm just not saying it well. It sounds alien. It's like a little bit... It's a little alien, you know? Which is just a cool vibe. Even once you're, like, very familiar with the game. Whereas Forbidden West, I don't ever really get that feeling so much. I guess the first time I played through it, I had that somewhat. But for some reason, you just sort of get more comfortable in Forbidden West. At least I do. Forbidden West has a more adventurous feeling, Chili, you feel like? Ouch.
You can't move. I could grapple in for a big hit.
I always do that weapon technique way too close. Yeah, also, I don't know how I haven't mentioned this already, but... Yeah, see, like, we could fly around like this. Get up, Aloy. Ouch.
What have expected for I can use it.
Joe Raptor mentioned in one of his videos that Forbidden West never really felt forbidden. Yeah, that's an interesting point. Yeah, I think Arg kind of put it well, at least in terms of how I feel about it. It doesn't feel as alien as Zero Dawn. I think the music has a lot to do with it, but also just like maybe the ambient sound effects too. And there might also be like, there's some more areas in Zero Dawn where they're kind of just more sparse, which is a weird thing to say, like that you would want in a game, because typically you don't want like a big empty open world, but I think sometimes you do want a little bit of room to just sort of like be in the world and not have some kind of NPC or other activity pop up around you, you know. And the machine sites are pretty dense in Zero Dawn, but I feel like there's just kind of some areas where you can just kind of be in the world and walk around a little bit and not run into anything, which gives you a little bit of breathing room sometimes, which is nice. Oh, the NPCs took it down. The Quen took it down. What does my loadout even look like right now? So I've got the Shredder, Sharp Shot Bow, Hunter Bow. Okay, I have a Rope Caster on. Drill Spikes. Skyhammer. Oh, the Rebels. I forgot these are Rebels that do this.
We found her!
I don't really want to fight Rebels right now. I mean, in Zero Dawn, you feel like you're nothing in this world, and just discovering your past in Forbidden West, the world is at stake, and you're the savior. Yeah. Yeah, it's a different kind of... It's a different feel. And I think I just kind of prefer that, like, the world is this big mystery to explore kind of feeling that you get from Zero Dawn a little bit more than you do from Forbidden West. I have to imagine I have this coiled for knockdown, right? My last argument? Yeah. Ancestors Return or Final Chapter? Definitely the Ancestors Return. Elemental Shredders are just too good, man. But yeah, I want... No Shredders in Hunter's Gathering is kind of, at least not from what we've seen so far. There's just not that many ranged weapons. You don't have spike throwers either.
Spine should have the parts I need to finish the override. Easy in theory.
I didn't actually hit it in the leg there. I'm out of volatile sludge. Yee. Up, Aloy. Oh, we're really far from the water. Come on. Okay, I dodged out of it. Didn't quite make it to the water. all over. There we go. A little too late on that. I don't think I have a cleansing potion up either. Aloy. Ouch. Ouch. He should go down, I think, with this spike. Yeah. I don't have any smoke bombs either. I'm waiting too long to dodge, like quite a bit. No! No! I accidentally opened up the potion crafting there. Do I have I should probably go get some resources. Where's our nearest stash at? Do I think they'll reveal Horizon 3 after the Zero Dawn movie comes out? That's a good question. I don't know. We don't really know when that movie or like what stage that movie's really in. So hard to say. We never crafted ammo. Probably should have done that at the beginning. Let's see. Am I just like totally out of volatile sludge? Oh no, I have 56 in the stash. This must be our save. Yeah, this is our save that we played through, I think, because this isn't New Game Plus, and I don't really have that much gear here in terms of like coils and stuff. All right. Let's go back to that guy. Yeah, I don't know what point the movie's at. I would think they'd reveal Horizon 3 before that, honestly. It feels like, to me, it feels like the movie's a pretty long ways off. That's going to be interesting to see, too, how the movie goes. I don't know how they're really going to fit the whole story into a single movie. Feels like there's not enough time to even put like the whole Zero Dawn story in a movie and do it justice. So I like the idea of a show more. I'm not so sure Netflix was the greatest person to publish it or whatever, but platform to have it for, but that sounds like that whole deal fell through anyway. Or maybe got put on like an indefinite pause. Oh, well, we got spotted.
Moment before it's off.
Oh, I don't have a very good outfit on either. Or maybe I just have it. I'm not sure what outfit I have equipped actually. Wasted our frost there. Poke him in the toes. There's a drill spike just in the sand there. Ouch.
I need to get my stamina back first.
Sorry, Aloy. I guess he was close to dead. I didn't realize that. Just whittled him down with... The drill spike sounds are so loud when you get close. Just whittled him down with drill spikes there. I wanted to go for a big hit at the end, but... That's alright. Alright, guys. I think we're going to call it there. This was mostly about, you know, chatting about Hunter's Gathering. I wanted to play a little bit of Zero Dawn and Forbidden West as like a palate cleanser, you know. But I think we're gonna call it there. I don't know what build I've got on right now. It's like it's just random stuff. I think I was doing photo mode shoots last time I had Forbidden West open, so I don't think I was actually putting a build together. I appreciate you guys all being here. No, Subi, I'm not gonna stream tomorrow. I can't stream twice this weekend, unfortunately, but really appreciate you guys being here. I hope that on some level, you know, just having a little bit of a discussion about this whole thing and chatting about it, getting people's thoughts out there. I know I did a lot of yapping and I missed a lot of comments in chat. So I saw, you know, I couldn't keep up with everything, but I saw a lot of people saying a lot of things that resonate with me, that are good points, that are good ideas. But I hope just kind of being here and being able to kind of sort of talk about it as a group was helpful. because I know there's a lot of emotions flying around and a lot of criticism flying around with Hunter's Gathering. So try to get into the playtest. If it's not for you, it's not for you. Horizon 3 is still on the way. That's also totally cool too. If you just kind of want to disengage from it, I completely understand that. And I just appreciate you guys tuning in here and hanging out for a little bit to chat about it. Hope you guys have a good rest of your weekend. I'm sure there will be more to talk about with Hunter's Gathering and Horizon as things, progress here. The playtest is in a few weeks, and it seems like, and we'll go from there. All right, guys, if you're not on Discord and you want to come chat about it there, feel free. Otherwise, I'll see you guys on stream sometime next weekend. You guys take care, and I'll see you next time. All right, see you guys.